This is your one shot. You win. You're in the big leagues.
What about his family? Did he have a wife? And I will not waste it.
In Kiev, Ukraine, resides an exceptional MMA fighter named Yuri Boyka. Revered as the best fighter in Europe, he proudly bears the title of Undisputed. One evening, Boyka steps into an underground arena for an illegal match. The atmosphere is electric with anticipation, and the crowd erupts in cheers as the fight begins. Boyka's opponent doesn't stand a chance. Boyka's movements are swift and precise, allowing no opportunity for his opponent to land a single blow. In a display of sheer dominance, Boyka delivers a powerful mid-air kick, knocking out his opponent and leaving the crowd in awe. The scene shifts dramatically to a maximum security prison in Russia. Here, the inmates are forced to fight for the amusement of the guards and wardens. To the outside world, these matches seem relatively benign, but in reality, they can become brutally violent with the right participants. The most feared prisoner is a monstrous man named Koshmar. His aggression is so uncontrollable that the guards must chain his limbs and muzzle him to prevent any harm outside the ring. In the ring, Koshmar's opponent is a much smaller man, struggling to defend himself. Koshmar easily overpowers him, slamming him to the ground with such force that his neck snaps. Koshmar then continues to pummel his opponent's face until it is grotesquely deformed and covered in blood. Known for his ruthlessness, Koshmar kills every opponent he faces without hesitation, embodying a monstrous brutality devoid of any remorse. In stark contrast, Yuri Boyka is a good man outside the ring. Despite his fearsome reputation, Boyka leads a life marked by efforts to redeem himself. His past is fraught with hardships, having spent several years in prison and being a wanted criminal in Russia. However, he has worked hard to leave that life behind and strive for a better path. In Kiev, Boyka devotes his time to helping a local church and engages in various charity works, showcasing his compassionate side. One day, during a conversation with a priest who has always been supportive of his fighting career, Boyka receives unexpected advice. The priest suggests that Boyka consider choosing another profession. Boyka replies to the priest, asserting that his talent is a gift from God, and he is not willing to stop using it. He expresses his desire to fight as a professional and leave the illegal environment behind. Later that afternoon, Boyka's manager approaches him with exciting news. Boyka has the opportunity to compete legally in legitimate MMA matches. The manager informs him that the European fighting tournament in Budapest will allow him to participate if he wins a qualifying match. As the match begins, Boyka swiftly lands the first effective kick. Throughout the initial minutes, he showcases his defensive prowess, skillfully deflecting every attack Victor throws at him. As Victor grows increasingly frustrated, Boyka seizes the opportunity to go on the offensive. The judges on the sidelines are already impressed with Boyka's performance. When he delivers a powerful knee to Victor's jaw, it seems like the match is over as Victor falls, confirming Boyka's qualification. However, to everyone's surprise, Victor gets back on his feet. Seconds later, Boyka knocks him down again, but Victor refuses to accept defeat. Boyka, now frustrated, lands a third punch on Victor's face, finally knocking him senseless. After the victory, the organizers officially invite Boyka to compete in the Budapest League, promising many new opportunities. His manager hands him a bundle of money and urges him to train hard for the next match, which is in 2 weeks. As Boyka is leaving, he notices that Victor is in critical condition. A wave of guilt washes over him. He never intended to hurt Victor so badly, and would have stopped if Victor had surrendered after the first knockout. Remembering the priest's advice, Boyka feels a profound sense of remorse and prays for Victor's swift recovery. This moment of introspection solidifies Boyka's resolve to balance his fighting career with his commitment to being a better person outside the ring. At night, he wakes up from a nightmare in which he kills an opponent in the ring. The next morning, he approaches the manager to ask about Victor. To his shock, he learns that Victor died the previous night in the hospital. Due to a pre-match contract they had signed, no one is held responsible for Victor's death. However, Boyka knows in his heart that he is to blame. When he inquires about Victor's family, the manager hands him a bag that belonged to Victor. Inside, Boyka finds a letter from Victor's wife and a photo of them together. As he reads the letter, he feels the pain Victor's wife must have experienced upon learning of his death. At that moment, Boyka resolves to apologize to her and ensure she doesn't face any hardships alone. He understands that his crime is unforgivable, but he refuses to avoid the path of redemption. Boyka tells the manager of his desire to go to Russia to meet Victor's wife, but the manager strongly opposes the idea. Boyka is still a wanted criminal in Russia and risks imprisonment if caught. He will need to forge a passport, which is risky now that he is close to becoming a legitimate MMA fighter. Despite understanding the risks, Boyka remains determined. In the following scene, we are introduced to Victor's wife, Alma, at his funeral. She is now alone and has no one to turn to. Additionally, she and Victor owe money to a crime boss named Zurab. Zurab attends the funeral and suggests Alma become his mistress to pay off the debt. Alma is repulsed by his proposition, but is careful not to anger him. She responds that she would rather work hard and pay him back in installments. Alma owns and lives in a community center that she and Victor built with the borrowed money from Zurab. The community center is home to many orphans and people in need. When Boyka arrives in Russia, he goes to meet Alma but notices her being taken away in a black car by a group of men. He discovers that she works as a waitress in Zurab's underground fighting club. Zurab is very protective of her and treats her like his property. Later that day, Boyka goes to the fight club and finds Alma. When he tries to talk to her, Zurab's men stop him and escort him outside. Boyka, wanting to avoid a fight, politely asks when she finishes work. The gangsters attack him in response, but he quickly teaches them a lesson for messing with a professional fighter. Impressed by Boyka's skills, Zurab, who has been looking for a good martial artist for his club, wants to hire him. However, Boyka argues that he is not there to fight but simply wants to meet Alma. Zurab offers to talk to her on Boyka's behalf, but refuses to let him meet her. Boyka disagrees and walks away, prompting Zurab to order his men to keep an eye on him. The following day, Boyka sneaks into the community center and meets Alma. He gives her Victor's letter and asks if she is being forced to work at the fight club. Alma replies that she would prefer to work elsewhere, but is bound by the debt. She reads the letter and then asks if Boyka saw her husband's last fight. Boyka admits that he was Victor's last opponent and tries to explain that the death was an accident, but Alma refuses to listen to her husband's killer. Following this interaction, Boyka goes to Zurab and agrees to fight for him on the condition that all of Alma's debt is forgiven. The deal is that Boyka must win 3 matches against opponents of Zurab's choosing. Zurab also promises to protect Boyka from the police and authorities, knowing that he entered Russia with a fake passport. The next day, Alma meets Boyka to tell him she doesn't need his pity and wants him to return home. Boyka insists that he is doing this for his own redemption. Afterward, Boyka goes to a local gym to train for the matches, but is bullied by a man there. When the guy keeps provoking him, Boyka responds by slamming him down with a single kick. On the day of his first fight, Boyka faces a local fighter in an easy match. Although the rival lands a few weak kicks, he proves no match for Boyka. Boyka knocks him down and, about to throw the final punch, stops midway. Fortunately, the opponent accepts defeat, so Boyka doesn't have to hurt him further. After the fight, Alma serves him drinks. Boyka asks if she knows of a good local gym because the one he's using doesn't meet his standards. After some thought, Alma invites him to use the gym at her community center. Boyka trains there for the next few days, and Alma gradually becomes accustomed to his presence. Boyka's next match is a 2-on-1 against a pair of brothers. Shocked by the unexpected rules, he confronts Zurab, who arrogantly states that fighters must play by his arena's rules. The match begins, and Boyka struggles to defend against both brothers simultaneously. Whenever he focuses on one, the other attacks, making it difficult for him to concentrate. Despite this, he manages to push one away and knock the other down during the brief moments they take to recover. The match remains evenly matched until Boyka is kicked in his already injured lower back. The pain is excruciating, but seeing Alma in the audience motivates him to continue fighting. With renewed determination, Boyka defeats both brothers, scoring a double knockout. The crowd erupts in cheers, as no one expected him to win this match either. The next day, Zurab meets Alma and attempts to flirt with her. When she deflects his advances, he accuses her of sleeping with Boyka. He also agitates her by suggesting that her husband's death wasn't an accident, and that Boyka intended to kill him. Alma pretends not to believe him, but the comment unsettles her. Meanwhile, Boyka's manager from Ukraine calls, demanding he return immediately for a press meeting about the fight in Budapest. Boyka asks him to postpone it, as he only has one more fight to win. Upon reaching his room, Boyka finds Alma waiting for him. She urges him to tell her the truth about her husband's death, and Boyka begins recounting the hardships he's faced. He reveals that the first half of his life was filled with misery, and the match against Victor was his only chance for a better life. He gave it everything and won, but Victor's death left a deep scar. He knows it's difficult for Alma to accept his help, but he begs her to let him do what he must. That night, in the final match, Boyka faces Igor, Zurab's best fighter who has been mocking Boyka since his arrival. Igor is especially furious at Boyka, seeing him as a threat to his position in the gang. He unleashes his frustration, targeting Boyka's lower back with relentless attacks. The tide turns when Boyka lands a double mid-air kick on Igor, following up with a brutal beating until Igor passes out, bleeding profusely. With this victory, Boyka wins the tournament and Alma's debt is paid. However, Zurab, having anticipated this outcome, reveals that Boyka must fight one last opponent to fulfill their deal. Boyka has only a few hours before his crucial meeting in Budapest, but he refuses to leave without saving Alma. Boyka asks his manager to wait until the next morning and prepares to fight the final champion. His opponent is Kashmar, a beastly fighter who has killed all his opponents in a Russian prison. Kashmar is brought into the arena in chains due to his violent nature. The fight begins, but Boyka is already exhausted. Despite his best efforts, his attacks barely affect Kashmar due to his immense physique. Kashmar lands several powerful punches and a kick to Boyka's jaw, sending him crashing to the ground. Boyka struggles to stand but is quickly slammed down again. Just as Kashmar is certain of his victory, Boyka musters the strength to surprise him with a powerful kick, shifting the fight in his favor. Boyka then traps Kashmar in an armlock, breaking his right arm, and kicks him out of the ring, securing the win. However, Zurab refuses to release Alma. He orders his minions to attack Boyka while he tries to escape with her. Boyka, at his lowest point, sees Alma being dragged away and is fueled by renewed motivation and anger. He fights off the guards, killing them all, and finally tackles Zurab to the ground. Despite being shot, Boyka's pain is overshadowed by his rage. He eventually strangles Zurab to death. Alma tries to help Boyka, but he stops her, asking if she forgives him. Later, the police arrive and arrest Boyka. Before being taken away, he asks Alma again for her forgiveness, but she remains silent. Boyka is then sent back to a Russian prison. A month later, Alma visits Boyka and tells him he is forgiven. This brings Boyka immense relief for the first time in months, despite his failed attempt to become a professional fighter. In the final scene, we see him fighting in the prison's arena, still holding the title of the Undisputed Champion. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for watching.